Yo guys, Carman now back with another review. This time we've got the Mercedes-Benz C-Class, the new generation W206, more specifically a C220d. And yeah, I'm just going to give you my overall verdict on the car, talk about its specs and features, interior, exterior, all of that stuff, and tell you how it drives. But for now, that's less of me yapping. Let's talk about the car. So at the front, you see we've got these LED headlights as standard. I'll be honest, guys, the optional extra that you can get, they look more like the CLA. I'll throw in a pic. These look, I'd say, just stick with these. I'm not gonna lie. Obviously, this car's not a premium plus, so it's gonna be missing on some features such as that. But one thing I do like is the three-pointed star in the grille. They look really nice. But in general, yeah, the front end is a bit fish-like. I don't know. Maybe you guys disagree with me. You guys let me know in the comments. But in general, quite just a normal, classy-looking car with a few aggressive touches like these nice little lines in the bonnet, etc. Now, if we move on to the wheels, guys, these wheels are rancid. If I'm honest, 18s, yeah, they look really, really small. I don't know why Mercedes do these sort of grey. I know it's probably to do with the economy of the car, boost the MPG a bit, but yeah, they look rubbish. At least make it black. You know what I mean? But yeah, moving on to the rear of the car. Now, it is quite smart. Now, I said the front end looked a bit like the CLA, or the rear looked a bit like the S-Class. A lot of people love to compare these two and call it, say, a mini S-Class. I don't disagree with them. But yeah, we got fake exhausts, fake vents. Mercedes love doing their fake BS when it comes to exterior styling. But at least, as far as the exterior goes, we're not let down by the interior. So guys, you join me in the interior of the C-Class, and guys, what a place it is to be. It looks so nice. Obviously, it is quite familiar, and that's because, again, it's a bit like the S-Class, which is why people call this a mini S-Class. Now, obviously, I much prefer this, not gonna lie. I just think they just had a little bit more designs. There's just a bit more curvature. We've got better vents. Even in the door cards, we've just got a bit more of a design going on compared to the S-Class, which is just sort of straight lines and screens. Speaking of screen, we've got this massive touchscreen display, very useful for when you want to display Apple CarPlay and stuff. You can display your maps as well. It's quite good. I will say this is the newest generation of MBUX. I much prefer just the one just before this, as this is a little bit complicated to use, but you do get used to it. We do have these touch buttons here, but one thing that's quite weird, so to give you sort of a feedback, they've made the whole bar a button. That's quite weird. This is where sort of Audi's maybe infotainment system is a little bit better with the haptic touch on each button. Talking of touchscreen buttons, we've literally got no steering wheel buttons anymore, so they're all touch sensitive. But one good thing is they slope inwards, so they're quite better compared to the likes of let's say the Golf Mark 8, where whilst you're driving along, palming the wheel, you constantly touch the buttons. You don't get that here, but they're still quite fidgety to use. It's quite annoying for me personally. As for the screen as well, the positioning, guys, in terms of driving position, I really don't like the seating position that you find in the C-Class. Like, I get this weird lump in my back here, and it's not the lumbar support or anything, it's just the way the seats are built. Other than that, they are quite comfortable. But yeah, driving position, you can get nice and low, but the problem is I have my steering wheel low, and then you got this screen, and the steering wheel blocks most of the view. That is rather annoying. As for the view itself, you can list quite a lot of things. It is quite nice, I'm not gonna lie, and it just makes night driving that so much more pleasant. In general, storage as well, you get cup holders here. You obviously get the classic Mercedes split tailgate here as well. And then you got a lovely glove box, door bins. Mercedes have actually been quite decent at that. The back space as well is not too bad. And boot capacity as well, we've got at 455 litres. So in general, the C-Class is a practical car. But what's under the bonnet? Let's find out. So what powers the C220d? It's a very familiar platform. It's basically the same 2.1 litre diesel engine, 4-cylinder. It makes about 200 brake horsepower and about 400 newton meters of torque. It's quite a decent power plant. What they've done new for the new generation is they've given it a new crankshaft, and they've also got the 48 volt mild hybrid assistance, which basically smooths the car as well as that crankshaft. So this is now a lot less rattly, but obviously maybe still not as refined as the 2 litre diesels you might find in the BMW 3 Series and the Audi A4. It's paired with the 9-speed automatic gearbox, which you'll find later on. I do have a little bit of issues with it. They have, again, recalibrated the gearbox. It is a lot bit smoother. But yeah, when you're getting on and stuff, it can be quite annoying. But yeah, that's pretty much sums up what powers the C-Class. Let's just find out what it's like to drive. So guys, what's the C-Class like to drive? Well, we're gonna set off with easy, just chilling around the city, you know, as you know what this car is intended to be. You know, again, it's going to be a city commuter. You know, so it's meant to be nice and comfortable, nice and easy to maneuver. And for that reason, we have it in comfort at the minute. Just slacked off. There you go. Touch sensitive lights. It's easy to operate. But yeah, obviously, you know, starting off the suspension. Now, C-Class, unless you get the C220d, so the plug-in hybrid, then they all come with fixed springs. You can't get air suspension on the new C-Class. Now, is that a bad thing necessarily? Not really, no. You know, the car is quite smooth. We're on the bad roads right now, but it seems to be dealing with the bumps. We're obviously in comfort, and I must say it is rather comfortable. And especially one thing that you do notice, and I think that adds to the creamy sensation, even though it's not really suspension related, you do get that creamy sensation because of the 48 mild hybrid technology. Oh, there you go. So you guys hear there, that's one bad thing about the C-Class already. If you're maneuvering around the city in speed bumps, this car will certainly scrape like every other Mercedes. I don't know why Mercedes do that. They just love bottoming out. In BMW, despite being such low cars, they never seem to bottom out. But yeah, for some reason, Mercedes love bottoming them out. But in terms of actual bumps, yeah, it deals with it nicely, irons it out as you'd expect. You know, like again, it is an executive commuter car, so it is meant to be comfortable. Now, visibility is quite good as well. These pillars are actually quite thick though. There can be a bit of a blind spot, but you do have blind spot assist on the mirrors as well, standard stuff. And just in general, you know, big glass panels. So yeah, and you got these nice little bonnet bulges as well, which I like. It helps me center the car. I find that quite useful. But yeah, in terms of the actual drivetrain itself, now this new diesel, bear in mind it's pretty much the same as the old diesel. You know, it's just got a revised crankshaft and it's got the 48 mild hybrid assistance. Now what that does is it loves to now coast, and it kind of shuts it away, so it does give you that sort of impression that, oh, it's a lot quieter and this and that. In general, it is smoother than last time. The last old diesel unit, very rarely, I'll be honest. This one is smoother, but you know, the likes of 320d, the A5, the A4 with their 2-litre diesel units, they're probably going to be just that little bit smoother. But now it is quite luxurious, I will be honest. Only when you sort of really on it, as you'll hear later on, it does sound very 4-cylinder sort of banger diesel. But yeah, I mean, the actual, you know, cabin as well, obviously we've got nice layers of ambient lighting. You know, it's very nice to drive in the night. That's what Mercedes are for. You know, they love sort of night driving stuff. You know, in terms of actually using it on the go, obviously we've got Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and it got very big display. So that's one thing, one positive thing as well. You know, it's actually quite easy to navigate. And in terms of the MBUX system itself, is it's not the most intuitive thing in the world, but I do prefer the old system. However, you know, once you obviously get used to the car, then it becomes relatively easy to understand. But yeah, using it on the go, especially because it's so low, you do kind of have to look down, especially if you want to adjust your climate. Like, you know, you've got to look down, and you know, I'm not focusing on the road. So yeah, it's not the most ideal thing in the world. But yeah, you can definitely do plenty of miles. We literally just did a motorway trip in it yesterday, and the car was averaging crazy mpg. I think it was like, you know, near closer to 60 miles per gallon if you're just sensible with it. So that's one thing I do love about these 2-litre diesels. Yeah, they're not the most performance oriented engine, but they're definitely one for economy. Around town, I'd say expect about 36-35 miles per gallon, which is still decent, you know, for stop-start traffic and whatnot. So not bad. Speaking of fuel, we actually do need to go get some fuel. So I say, why don't we top up some fuel, and then we'll get going and see what the car's like when you sort of press on. So guys, what's the C-Class like when you press on? Well, for that we've got an individual mode, or otherwise known as sports mode, but the reason why I have it individual, just to set the steering's comfort, as I just find the sports steering just a bit too stiff. And yeah, we're going to find out what a corner's like, what the engine response is like. Obviously we're not going to be expecting much, as we guys have previously said. The C-Class is a commuter car, so you know it's not going to be the most sporty thing in the world. But yeah, let's do a little kick down. So we're in second gear, we're going to floor it, and you know what, even though it's in manual, that's one gripe as well, it will shift automatically up there, so we won't hold on the red line. Yeah, the 2-litre diesel has definitely got a bit of punch to it. Obviously it's not the fastest thing in the world, but it's still pretty decent, I'm not going to lie. You know, the gearbox itself is 9 gears, so sometimes I will have noticed that's more when you're in the normal modes, it just struggles to sort of select the gear. But yeah, I mean, in terms of response, if you wanted more power, you can always opt for the C250d, which has, you know, I think about 20 or 30, 40 more brake, and obviously more torque. And I'll be honest, the petrols are just going to be your best bet for, you know, this kind of driving. Even more so, if you really wanted a, you know, sporty mid-size executive car, then you'd be better off with the 3 Series or the Jaguar XE. Now, you know, punch aside, what is it like in the corners? Well, the steering doesn't offer that much feedback. Obviously, Mercedes never really gave you that much feedback. In general, new cars, they struggle to. It is nice and direct. It's relatively stable as well at high speed. Bear in mind, guys, it's not a light car, so you know that does give you that advantage. In terms of damping, it's okay, but again, example, look, right now gear selection just isn't the best, and the brakes are decent as well. Pack a nice little bite, they're going to be sufficient enough. As for steering, well, you know, the C-Class is, again, it's going to be not that communicative with the steering. At the minute we've got ESC off. More on that later. But yeah, as for actual just normal when you're you know, fast driving steering, you know, there's no, it's an EPAS system, so there's not going to be any feedback or anything like that. It is direct, it's easy to use, and in terms of the car chassis, it does tend to understeer more than oversteer, 100%. But you know, it's neutral. It won't really ever catch you out. But yeah, this kind of driving, realistically, who's going to be doing this in a C-Class? Probably not a lot of people. You can always use the paddles as well if you wanted a bit of fun, but again, they manually upshift. But yeah, look, you know, you can chuck it in nicely. Nice bit of entry speed. It's a safe car to drive fast. I can say that. So guys, obviously you heard me talk about the ESP system. Obviously me being car manned up, I know no one else is going to be doing this in a C-Class, but it's rear-wheel drive, it's a saloon car, we've got to test if it goes sideways. Now, a common misconception, ESP button right here, you know, it's very simple. You press the car button there and you have it on off, yeah? Now, this will let you have fun, maybe if it's wet, granted, then it will have you a little bit of fun, but this is not traction off as everyone thinks, yeah? I'm going to demonstrate this now. So we're driving along, I'm going to have it manual, so you want to flick it in right now. So the car's going to let me get angle, but look, it's braking. I'm not braking, that's the car braking, you know. See, look, intervenes again. It just basically lets you get a little bit of angle, but it doesn't let you sort of continue with that angle, you know, because it's detecting a lot of angle. Sorry, the yaw sensor is detecting some angle, and therefore doesn't want you to spin out, you know. So I mean, it's okay if you're not experienced. So look, I'm trying to continue right now. I'm literally full throttle, guys, and it's what it's doing is like basically almost doing a burnout. It's trying to apply the brakes whilst I'm applying the throttle. You know, it's like the car's fighting against you. It's not that happy, but truth be told, as you can see, like, it's still decent. And I think the one common thing about the ESC, or ESP off should I say, is the diff is still active. Now there's another mode you can access where if you want to have fun, it's probably best to be in, but there is a little bit of a procedure to it. So let me show you that now. So that was ESP off. Now let's try the different mode that I was referring to, and that's called Dyno mode. Now it's a secret menu, so to do that you have to do ignition 1, right, and then we have to hold the OK button, and then we hold the home button, and make sure it's on the trip as well whilst you do this. Then back to OK, and back to home, then back to OK, and I think that should be it. When I let go, there you go, workshop. So now the car is in workshop mode. If you want to take a closer look onto the dash, so now we have, you know, sort of a menu here. We can, if you want to do service, stuff like that, but we're interested in dyno monitor test, so you click that and you press OK. Now this mode means everything is off. ABS, traction, anything, you name it, all the collisions assist, everything. However, is it really off? In the previous gen, it really meant everything was off. Now, let's see if it really is off. Dyno mode, private test track, guys, remember. And yeah, let's just see how it gets on. Now, you got to remember, with the ESP, you still had the E-diff active. It's an open diff, but it uses the brakes to act like an LSD. You haven't got that here, so you're going to be getting a lot of one tire fire like we're getting now. There you go, catch it, there you go, but it still applied the brakes there. And one thing it also does, which is a bit annoying, it kind of like disconnects the drivetrain, probably to save the gearbox or whatever it is. I'm not too sure what it is, but it's quite annoying and it's quite inconsistent as well. And bear in mind, you got no ABS as well, so if you cock it up, you're just gonna go straight on when you apply the brakes. But I realize manual mode, it is a bit gimmicky with it. Let's try and drive. There you go, there you go. But see, I'm trying to apply gas and it isn't that happy. You know, it's still intervening. There you go, brake traction, still not braking traction. It feels rather inconsistent, because normally dyno mode in the previous generation was completely unassisted. You know, this car is fighting itself. It's like, I don't know if I want to give it to you. See, there you go, brake for me. I'm making my camera move very dizzy just to prove a point to you guys. There you go. Yeah, see there, it's just cut off power straight away, and there you go, we've got transmission warning now. So there you go. So obviously the new C-Class does not like to be played around with too much, and if you do want to go sideways, I'd highly recommend a 3 Series. But yeah, that sums up the driving. Let's just give you my overall opinion. The W206 C-Class, Mercedes' latest addition to the mid-size executive sedan. And my gosh, guys, it is probably one of the most leading ones as well. It's pretty tempting. Obviously, there are a few drawbacks in terms of the more people that like spirited driving, especially. But for those that want a comfortable, sort of refined daily, then you can't go wrong. But yeah, if you liked the video, then please like, share, subscribe. Let me know what car you'd like to see next. But for now, I've been Carmadnab.